Welcome to the Scuttlebutt Podcast. There are lots of drinks, there are no rules, and it is a lot of fun. Relax, you are amongst friends.
Hello, and welcome back to another fun episode of the Scuttlebutt VR. My name is Theron, and I'm here along with my buddy Hermes Auslander. And we're going to take you on a fun and very misguided journey through VR news. How are you feeling today, Hermes?
You know, I'm actually really good. This is my third snow day off, so might as well be productive, and that's what we're trying to do today.
Yeah, man. Who said you don't get snow days as an adult, right?
I love them. I like them even more than when I was a child.
I don't know, man. I didn't do any sledding this time, which was kind of a bummer.
That's fair. Power did go out, so that was a bummer. That's not as much fun as it was when you were a kid, but
that's what was crazy to me is you live in a much nicer kind of area of the country than I do, and my power didn't go out. It's built tough over here.
For it. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Were you prepared for the power outage? Did you have candles and, battery banks and shit, all the stuff that we do over here?
Yeah, I was prepared. I have 3 or 4 battery banks. We have, an addiction to candles. The wife has a plethora of those.
True.
No shortage. So the house smelled great as well as being lit. And we have, games. We played trivia and chess and, just hung out. So and we had plenty of food. So it was good. I have filters for water. We're good.
There you go. Prepared. I mean, after the whole, situation for the past 2 years, I feel like everyone's prepared to just have to lock themselves in their house for 2 weeks, maybe.
You think that with
you should be.
They're prepared, but yeah, you should be. Yeah, but you would be surprised at how many people were still trying to drive around and getting stuck on the roads. So that was fun to see.
Exactly. That's what I keep trying to say. As is tradition here on the show, we talk about what we're drinking on. For me, it's earlier in the morning than I usually record, so I actually have got an Irish coffee here. Something nice and warm.
Likewise, I am sipping on that French press with a little bit of bourbon splashed in.
Ooh, that's completely unplanned. I like that. We just great minds think alike,
I've been drinking that all morning now. This is my second pot of coffee, so I figured, now we're about to start recording. Better splash a little bit of that liquid creativity in.
Absolutely, gotta get some of the what do they call the luck potion in Harry Potter? It's just whiskey. That
it is absolutely.
Speaking of big brain stuff, I think you're going to appreciate the topic of today's episode. I don't know if you've heard or if you're paying attention at all, but Apple is rumored to be making a VR headset this year, 2022.
Say less. How can I get a hold of this?
Well, I mean, I assume that you're just feeding them some of the alien technology. You're like, guys, we got to make this happen. You're losing the race with Facebook here.
They haven't reached out to me just yet, but I guarantee you I'll be the first on their list when how immersed I am in the ecosystem. They know that I can help troubleshoot all of the obstacles that this transition. But that's actually really exciting. Is it going to be like a mobile headset like the Quest is? Do we know any details?
Not really. I've heard some sources say that it might be like an augmented reality kind of situation. So glasses that just make stuff pop up around you, like Free Guy style. Or I've heard that it might be just really similar to the Oculus in the way that it's like a standalone, full visual VR experience. I don't think they're going to do anything like tethered, at least not at first. I could see in the future them having like a special edition iMac that comes with a headset.
Ew, I hope not. Well,
Well,
I
and
mean,
that's I guess
even if
that's
they
the
do that,
question. Oh, go ahead, man.
what's that?
Oh, just like now that, Apple, is it going to be the next iPhone? Is it going to be like, oh, well, the Apple effect? They're doing it, so it must be cool now. We should all try this. Or is it going to be like the iPhone at first, where there were a lot of people who were like, this is stupid. You don't need to be doing that much stuff with your phone.
Right, right. And then it sort of catches on as like,
Oh, now
the
it's just
end
the new
all, like
normal.
everybody has to adopt it. Yeah, yeah. Well, if there's a company that could do it, I would trust Apple over fucking Facebook. That's for damn sure.
Well, that's definitely a great question, like to think about, because as you pointed out, Apple has a very definite ecosystem. So there's no way that they're gonna make a VR headset that doesn't like very firmly sit in that ecosystem. And so everyone's worried about,
Right.
oh, Facebook's making the metaverse and what's gonna happen when they control it and what. Like, it's not like Apple's gonna be like, no, we're making the free and open metaverse for everyone. It's probably,
Everyone
if
with
anything
Apple
else, going to
products.
be even more closed in. And so, what do you think?
Maybe, but I don't think that's necessarily gonna be like I can see some some reservations for it, but I don't necessarily like me personally. I don't think I'm gonna be opposed to that, especially if
Well,
they
of course
have
not.
it
You're already
fit within the
indoctrinated.
ecosystem, right? Like, yeah, 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 yeah. If so, like I can see like the glasses being a really cool facet if they work, sort of like Google glasses were supposed to, but never ended up panning out. I
Yeah,
think
totally.
if they had a glasses set that's integrated, like we could sit at our desk right now, but we also could see each other, sort of like this, where there's that crossover between the virtual, like you said, augmented. I think that would be really cool, especially if it fits it. So like I could be at my iMac, right? I could be at my iPad as my other screen, my phone, and my phone maybe could have like the app that has the augmented portion that we're talking through. And then the glasses just combine my picture with your picture type of like that's where my brain goes with the technology. And I don't think that would be a huge even jump for Apple. And then they could go from there, and maybe it's not solely for gaming like the Oculus is, but I do think as technology starts to catch up with the ideas of it, I think it definitely could be.
I agree that I don't think whatever headset that Apple makes is going to be solely for gaming. I think it's going to be focused at like artists and intellectuals, because that's always what their products are focused on. And so I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
like there's no reason to change a formula that's working really well.
They just passed 3 trillion market cap.
Yeah, I believe it. They actually like they know that this is a competition that's going on. That like they aren't the only ones in it, and they want to be good at it. They actually are like offering. They this past year offered a ton of bonuses and like stock options, anywhere between like $50,000 and $180,000. Where they're like, hey, if you perform good enough, we'll give you some stock options as a bonus, but they only mature in 4 years, so we'll give it to you now, but you gotta ride it out for the night. You can't let anybody else, like Meta, poach you and go
Right.
work for them, because then your money's worthless.
I mean, that's not a bad way. I've always been a fan of I've been a fan of most of the um like ecosystem in terms of like a closed ecosystem, in terms of the IP and everything that they do. Obviously, I see some downsides and some pitfalls in it, but thus far, again, I'm biased. You know me. I'm an Apple guy. Um, I haven't seen enough issues for me personally, but again, I think I fall into that demographic, right? Where like artists is why it
Yeah.
always has spoke to me, especially with like the airdrop feature. I've always raved anybody who's ever like, brought me their gripe about Apple. I'm like, yeah, well, until Android and Windows can accomplish this specific feature, it's not like this is the one feature that will always keep me here for like the graphic design options, like the amount of speed and ease that offers me. And I do feel like VR, if they're going to be doing the augmented or straight virtual, is going to play into that. It's going to keep me here, and others that use features like that are solely found in Apple products. I think it just goes without saying
No,
until others can do that.
I totally agree, and that's what I was gonna say. Like thinking about like some Worlds or some of these other games I've played where it can be so hard to actually get, like, I know that we're both playing the same game. Why is it so hard for us to get in the same lobby? Like, just imagining, a quote unquote airdrop functionality in that, where it's just like, oh yeah, we both tapped the thing and now we're here. Like, that would be awesome. That is absolutely an improvement. But also mentioning those games, like, a lot of them are crossplay. And so I hope that whatever Apple makes, they're at least somewhat open to the idea of letting other people do stuff inside of their ecosystem. It doesn't necessarily have to be like completely open, and they've been better about that. Like, I can get Apple Music on my Android phone, where you would think that would be an exclusive app. So they're definitely starting to learn that, like, there's no reason to just turn away money from people who want to give it to us.
Exactly. And that's what it comes down to, right? Is where is the consumer base? Where are they going to fall in terms of money? Like, where are we going to spend our money? And for me personally, it's on shit that works. That's the plain and simple truth. If Apple comes out with a Quest-like headset, even if it's almost identical to the Quest, if it does things better than the Quest, you can bet there's going to be people that are going to be switching. And if it does a lot better than the Quest and it improves on all the pitfalls that Facebook and Metaverse is going through right now, and again has that integration and has a little bit of the crossover in that way, then I don't see why the money won't follow as well, and why they won't then respond to it.
I think that there's a huge subset of the market who would buy it just because it's not Facebook. Just because they feel way more comfortable having an Apple account than they do having a Facebook account, or giving that open for people to look at, which I totally get. In most cases, you're telling Facebook a lot more about your life than app. Like, I don't really care if people know what I've downloaded and what terrible movies I've rented. Like, there's not much actual in terms of data there.
Well, that goes without saying in terms of, at least at the surface level, for anybody, like you said, just like a peace of mind thing. You can look at the actions of Apple compared to Facebook, right? Facebook actively pursues ways to profit off of your data. Well, while Apple, oftentimes you'll see now I'm not saying they're perfect because nobody is, but you'll see time and time again, like FBI will be like, hey, we need it in this phone. They're like, sorry, if we give you that, then that kind of fucks over our fucking moral high ground for our company that we've, worked so hard to establish. And even now,
it's true.
Every iOS update that you see has more and more security features, or at least options that they're, giving to the users as more and more privacy issues and complaints come in. For Apple's like, well, fine. We have a closed ecosystem. We have a very loyal fan base. Let's show them that we actually give a shit about their privacy. So again, I think that,
and I mean, iCloud has never been hacked, except for that one time with all the celebrities and pictures.
Well, and that also goes to what's the biggest security flaw in any security system is human error, right? It's humans. And so as long as we're engaging with it, and the more that we engage with it, the more likely these flaws are going to occur. So I do think like the end-to-end encryption portion, or the AI generated like passwords and email, proxy emails that they generate takes one less thing. Because how many people use the same fucking password for all of their accounts? So,
no, totally.
Almost everybody.
Yeah.
So
yeah, to like too many people.
Out of the equation.
So that's a free lesson for you today. Don't use the same password on multiple websites.
See, but Apple already takes that out of the equation. Anytime I save my password on my Mac, my iPad, my iPhone, it auto-generates based, if it's my first time or my 10th time, it auto-generates that password. So the only person that has that password, which is a fucking random string of encryption digits, is my iCloud myself. And same thing with my iCloud passwords and so on and so forth. And then anything that I have to put in manually, again, are all different. That's one less thing I got to worry about.
You want to know how I protect my passwords? Just being fucking stupid. Because it's so easy for you to like recover your passwords these days that I'll whatever it wants, I'll just tell it, generate a random password, and then I'll just save it to the browser. And then if that just doesn't work, I'm like, man, fuck it, reset it. Like, I'll just put in another random thing. Like, And it's great. I couldn't tell you the password to half of the shit if I wanted to, because I genuinely have no idea what it is.
Yeah. But I mean, I do think that's going to be, like you said, the benefit, at least initially, that Apple's going to have is that it's just not Facebook, and I think that is definitely, a good point, that there's going to be a consumer base that's like anything but Facebook. Because wasn't it Keanu Reeves, which is like, can we just not have Facebook be the one who's heading the metaverse? Anybody else besides Facebook?
I'd be interested to hear what he thinks about Apple, if he sees that as better or worse. Is it just a lateral move?
Is he like a big tech guy?
I think he was just doing interviews about the new Matrix movie, and so people were asking him a lot of like tech questions that I think I mean, he's a cool guy, so he doesn't want to be negative about anything really. So I think he was like just trying to politely give an opinion on stuff that is just maybe not unpopular. Sure. No offense. He's a great guy, love him, but. Like I said, I'd be interested to hear what he thinks about Apple and their move into VR. And it's very much, aside from literally giving their employees bonuses to not go over to Meta, they've actually poached several employees from Meta to come work for them, which I think is really funny, because they know why they have to give their employees bonuses, because, this is what we work to steal their employees, so let's make sure they can't do it back to us. But yeah, they hired.
Donate the player hit the game, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah, no, that's smart business, like unquestionably. But one of their hires was Andrea Schubert, who was Meta's communications and public relations head for all of their VR stuff. She was literally with Oculus before Facebook bought them, so she's been doing VR shit for like a really long time. So that's a huge kind of acquisition for them.
I was say, so that's a plus, right? That she's got it. At least she's proven herself, basically, what you're saying.
Oh, I mean, yeah, totally. Like, you wouldn't think that she would have been around for this long without being good at her job. And this is an emerging kind of technology, so there's not really, compared to a lot of other technology fields, a lot of experts available.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say that's a huge.
Do you think that's an exciting thing or an obstacle currently for VR? In that because it's so new and because it's so like you said, it is so new that there aren't like experts, quote unquote, in the field thus far. Do you think that's, to me, I'm like, well, that's awesome, because it kind of leaves the door open for anybody who's smart enough, creative enough, whatever, driven enough to be like, no, this is a good idea and I'm going to make it happen, and then they do and have at least the space to move, and it's not oversaturated yet with like people who's like, oh, well, I have a PhD in virtual reality, therefore I'm the most qualified, when in actuality they're going to be like, set us back. Is that
no, I get what you're saying. Like, it's more merit based at this point, which I always think is a good thing. Yeah. But there are people who have been doing it for longer than we've been alive. Like, we talked in one episode about Dr. Tom Furness briefly, who's been doing VR stuff since the 70s. I actually did a little bit more research on him and found out he's the guy, well, not the guy, he worked on the team that developed the heads-up displays for, like, Blackbirds.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so, like, just, like, the OGs of VR, like, or AR, I guess that would be.
Yeah.
But, so, like, obviously during that period of time, he's worked with who knows how many dozens of students and colleagues and other people who have like just kind of branched off, and we're just now kind of seeing that wave, I think, start peaking. And so I think between all of those people who were kind of involved up till this point and all of the people who are super excited about it, like we are, who are just getting involved in, diving right on in head first to what we're seeing today, I think it's going to make for a very exciting future.
Fuck yeah.
And there are, on that note, a ton of people diving into VR. The Oculus app that you like install on your phone to control the headset was the #1 most downloaded app on Apple's App Store on Christmas Day. So, I mean, you can kind of do the math there. A lot of people bought headsets.
Yeah, exactly. which is I mean, even shout out to E14 Heath. was texting, and you said that you even got to play some with him.
Yeah, we played some After the Fall together. Pretty good shot, Heath.
That just shows the potential that's there and the interest across generations. It's not just because we had complained and talked about how much youth is currently in the VR space, obviously as like children, but there's obviously, as this year and this Christmas season is probably showing, there is obviously interest in a wide demographic of people. You know, there's plenty of adults that are like, hey, what is going on with this VR set? And I think that goes without saying that, like, you know, I don't know if your parents did this when they were first giving you console games. Like, mine definitely did. We were like, oh, you know, you can only play like games, you know, rated this and this. Like, we don't want anything too crazy going on, blah, blah, blah. I think that's annoying for the kids, but it's also probably, especially with technology today and how we've seen smartphones take a hold of the youth in the way that they have. I think that's obviously going to be smart parenting move to see what VR is actually about, see what's actually going on in like VRchat or, you know, any of the games out there, first person shooters or Demio or anything else that's going on. See what it's actually going on and what it's about firsthand, and then make the parental decision as to whether or not, yeah, it's okay for your specific child, you know? So
no,
I think that be.
Oh, I totally agree. And like, I almost think that like the extra sense of presence that everything has, it's almost like you want to go see what house you're dropping your kid off at, you know? Like, you wouldn't just drop your kid off at somewhere, oh no, Billy said his mom's cool, and just like never ever look or see. Like, you don't know what your kid is actually doing in there. And this is like a very similar situation that potentially could be more or less harmful, I guess. I mean, you're probably not going to die as a result of it, so maybe overall less harmful than Weird Billy's house, but...
But I mean, what was your parents? You always give the example of your parents with the internet, right? Where it's like the only people on the internet are weirdos and murderers and rapists.
Oh yeah, no, my parents convinced me that every single person on the internet was like a creepy 55-year-old man who wanted to just kidnap you and do bad things to you. Every person, nobody else even uses the internet. It was weird. Like, just me. It's just, like, in hindsight, why are my parents letting one child on a website full of perverts? Like, that's bad parenting on them. If I was the only one who wasn't a 55-year-old man, like...
Theron's mom and dad, shots fired.
Shout out.
But no, I do think, and I wonder, like, kind of almost to my point, right? If they were as familiar with the internet as they could have or should have been at that time, similar to VR now. If parents are familiar with VR and, you know, the games, the communities, the chats, all of that shit, if they're actually familiar, is that going to be one of their scare tactics, or is it going to be more grounded in like reality, first-hand experience, aka like, no, I was on the headset, I saw VRchat, I know the actual dangers is not going to be necessarily the weirdo, but maybe it's, you know, language. Maybe it's, you know, I don't know if you saw that, controller battery low. Sorry. I don't know if you saw that, gosh, who wrote that? It was an article about groping in VR. I can't remember who
I don't think I did see that article.
But I was like, yeah, it was like the metaverse already has a groping problem, and I was like, does it though? And I was like looking into it, and it basically, it's just like the unwanted interactions between virtual spaces, you know, can be, I guess, hazardous or triggering to some individuals.
So I like, without getting too far off course here, from talking about maybe Apple will fix the groping problem. Is really that's the main thing they need to improve in VR. But I would say I wouldn't call it a groping problem. There's definitely like a harassment problem though, where like people who are trolls who would normally be like yelling or like typing a bunch of dumb shit are like able to come up in your face and like be an annoyance and follow you around. But what a lot of those articles kind of fail to account for is that you can just block those people. Like, you don't have to see them. You can make them go away completely. And like, this is a hot take right here, But if it was that easy to make annoying people go away in real life, like, there would be a lot less assault, you know? If you could just be like, look, dude, I'm tired of you, delete. Like, and he's just no longer in your existence.
Dark alleyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, dark alleyway gone.
And so, like, that's, I think, a large part of it. You do have to account, though, like, for the whole phantom sensation. Like, I don't have it, but I know people that can literally get a sensation of being touched when somebody touches them. And so, like, is it more or less harassment for them than everyone else? Like, how are you supposed to know? Maybe you should just not be a dick.
Right. Yeah, and that, I mean, that's the age-old question of the internet, right? Is how do we actually police? Like, all of us agree we don't want, am I allowed to say this? You'll probably believe it. We don't want, we all agree on the internet are something we should be aware of and looking out for, much as your parents were, trying to warn you about, right?
Totally.
It's the age-old question: is how do we police and prevent the harms and the activities that we all as a society 99.9% agree are not good activities and are harmful to X people? How do we prevent those and police those things without overreaching and then restricting, censoring, preventing the actual free-flowing environment that was and is the internet, So I don't have the solution there. But.
No, it's a nebulous question that we covered a little bit in the Christmas episode. But yeah, there's really not one good answer. There's no one size fits all. Everyone's going to be different. There's no like solid way to measure maturity level. As proven by the way that there's so many annoying adults on the internet too. People trolling around and doing that stuff.
Wait, I feel personally attacked. Why are you tagging
me? Hey man, I just calls them like I sees them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I'm curious to see how VR space, especially when we start getting like haptic suits and more like feedback information from the virtual space into the real world, how that's all going to look. Because I mean, yeah, if taking the groping example is just maybe currently a phantom for some people, but for a majority is as easy as click block, is that going to be a bigger thing when we have more information to process and come into our physical space?
That's a great question.
I can't imagine it won't be.
Because, as technology advances, like, even that part, like, you can't just block a person immediately. It takes a second. So it's like, oh, cool. Exactly, I only have to put up with getting groped for a second before I can block that person. That still doesn't really feel fair.
Yeah. And what's the and that's the thing. What's the conversation? How's it going to be framed, and how are we going to move on from it? Because like a lot of us, we can anticipate some issues between the two of us right now, but I guarantee there's going to be a new like fucking medical issues that somebody didn't know they had until they stepped into the VR space and plugged into their haptic suit, and all of a sudden they had a seizure. Like there's going to be things that are going to pop up that nobody was anticipating.
Oh, totally.
I'm curious to see how the conversation is going to be framed around that. Are we going to let like the local politician decide who's never been in VR, much as they do with the internet now, trying to police shit that they are equating it to the telephone company? Like, how are we going to actually?
And then especially
how's that actually going to move forward?
As the nexus of virtual worlds gets more popular and becomes more of an established place to like work and have fun, it's not going to be as much like right now. I feel like the main person would say, well, just stop playing whatever game you're playing. Like, just take your headset off. Just don't do it if you're having such an uncomfortable experience. Where, potentially in the future, that might be less of an option. Like, as a digital artist who works in NFTs, this is where I do my thing primarily. It's not just about playing a game or doing a podcast.
Right. And I mean, that was the question. And that was the old argument when computers were first entering the home and internet was invading our lives, right? It's like, oh, well, you can just turn off the computer and stop replying to the comment section, right? But we've seen we now have the computer in our pocket. So it's like you said, it's a lot less feasible that solution is a lot less feasible nowadays when it comes to just the average troll on a comment section. And then, like you said, take it a step further. And if the metaverse, ends up becoming the Matrix, right? And we're living. Did you ever see that movie, Surrogates with Bruce Willis? I don't know. Let's check it out for the sake of VR conversation right now. But it goes to that point, right? Is like if there is never really an opportunity or a point, or society goes to the place where we're never unplugging from this, like this is our reality now. How are we actually going to be solving these, groping?
Sure, like what is like reality?
That's how we live. Yeah, that's how
right. Because like you
so.
Didn't actually get groped in your weird egg tank thing, so who really cares?
But your surrogate did, and you felt the surrogate get groped as though you were getting groped. It was
that's just a risk you take.
You should check out the movie.
You got to pick your robot, so you shouldn't have made it so attractive. That's I'm gonna get in trouble. I just got us canceled right there. Like, yeah. All right. One last question.
Asking for it
to wrap up the show. What do you think that Apple is gonna call their headset? Give me a name.
Ooh. Okay, 1 second here. I saw iReality. I'm terrible. This is why you come up with these fucking names and these phrases. I don't something.
Yeah, I don't have like a fantastic name. I agree. It's got to have I in front of it.
IV. V stands for virtual.
That makes it sound like you're getting right. No, that sounds terrible.
Exactly. You
all
plug
right.
it in like a fucking IV. There we go. All right,
you heard it here, guys. It's gonna be called the IV, and it goes right in your arm. Their marketing title is gonna be "It Just Works Like Heroin."
More addicting than heroin.
You're just taking a USB fucking cord and jamming it in your arm, like.
You have like a little surgical implant for the port now, and boom.
Nope, you just have to jam it into your flesh Matrix. Every time.
Oh shit, nanobots come into your stream. I love it.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to be our show for today. Thank you so much for watching the Scuttlebutt VR. We know that you hear this a lot, but it really helps us out if you subscribe to the channel. We'd really, appreciate a like as well. And if you have time, go ahead and leave a comment down below letting us know what you think about Apple's new augmented reality, virtual reality headset. What do you think it's going to be called? We'd love to hear it.